Development brings about economic development, because you find that the more you open up your space, the more you create the right infrastructure in education, in health, in roads, in rails, a lot of people, even from the construction stages, are engaged and therefore are given the opportunity to work. And therefore, a lot of Nigerian youth are engaged in such construction projects. When you invest in education, it's not something that you see tomorrow. Of course, there is a process. And certainly, having invested so much in education by this administration, the results are tangible. They will be seen, and they are already being seen. You can see the transformation in the digital economy, which this administration, through the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy, has been brought about, whereby you have people start up and making good business out of technology. And most of these people are youth, women, are being empowered. There has been an unprecedented social investment program across this country, like never seen before, whereby monies are put in the hands of Nigerian entrepreneurs to be able to be self-employed and to create labor themselves by giving opportunities to other people. So I assure you that some of this project, their effect will not be felt today, but as the projects are completed and those that are in the pipeline are brought to bear, you'll certainly see significant changes in the life of Nigeria and Nigerians. And of course, let me also say this. You find that some of these projects have multiplier effects across. When you do a project of power, say the AKK that is being commissioned now and is being constructed, all the people along that corridor, the kind of power plants, the kind of industries that will spring from that, will engage a lot of Nigerians. The rail infrastructure, at every point, at every station, and all the people along the corridor of a rail track, believe you me, their economies are transformed just by having a rail line there, because of the trade that brings about. So certainly all these are factors. I believe Nigerians have seen the commitment of the president of this administration in addressing all these challenges, which is why that he on his own could admit that there are issues, but we are working to fix the issues. And of course, it's work in progress. Congratulate myself. I congratulated the House of Representatives. They are the ones that passed the bill. And let me say that there is no perfect law. There is no perfect law. And we all know that exigencies of moments determine the kind of actions people take. Laws could be made today. Some of the laws, as you know, just as I had mentioned, like the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. There exists an Electoral Act, but it's in the wisdom of the lawmakers and those that sponsored the bill that there needs to be some amendments to that act. And because there exists in the legislative process a framework that can be used to make amendments, that law is being amended. So I believe any law that we have today can be subjected to amendments in the future, depending on the circumstances and exigencies of that moment. As for the first part of your question, I certainly would not converse for a rough, like you said, relationship, because rough relationship does not deliver results. Both the executive and the legislature are supposed to be responsible leaders. They were elected by the Nigerian people to come and collaborate and work for them. Like I said, we operate one government with various arms. In fact, there are 3 arms of government and 3 tiers along the line also of government. And we're all supposed to work for order and good governance of this country. We are supposed to be partners in nation building. We can certainly disagree, and there could be certainly in their oversight function, the legislature has a responsibility to oversight the executive, which, by the way, Mr. President recognizes and respect. And if you remember, when we returned in the 9th Assembly, because of budget defense, the President had to issue a directive to all the ministers not to travel out of the country to make sure that they honor the invitations of their respective committees for budget defense, so as to achieve this common goal that the executive and the legislature had set for itself of returning the budget cycle. And let me also quickly say that you find there are areas of differences and disagreements. For instance, even the Supplementary Amendment Act that the President just assented to, it wasn't what the executive brought that was finally approved by the National Assembly. There were changes. And the President went ahead and assented because he recognized they had a right to do those changes. So what is important is we disagree to agree on a common platform for the common good of the Nigerian people who elected the government into power. Say that I am in front of you or before you in my capacity as the Senior Special Assistant to the President on National Assembly Matters, House of Representatives, for which I have a mandate on certain issues. And certainly this falls outside my mandate. So I suggest you direct your questions to either the Minister of Foreign Affairs or Defense on both the first and the follow-up questions. Thank you very much. I guess I was protected by your chairman. That's why you're saying for, and thank you, Madam Chairman, for protecting me. At any rate, I can tell you within the last session, which is the one that they had just went on break for, 15 bills were assented by Mr. President. And of course, other bills were transmitted, some of which had lapsed, and I cannot give you the exact number of the bills that had been transmitted, but I know that 15 bills were assented, which I think is a commendable thing. On the first part of your question, let me just hasten to say that indeed this President respects the separation of powers, the principles as enshrined in the Constitution of the separation of powers. And of course, I just made a point to the fact that the President had to give directives that his ministers must stay and honor invitations of the National Assembly, not only in budget circles or budget defense, but in all cases, and MDAs as well, other departments and agencies as well. The invitation you are referring to, of course, the President respects their rise to that invitation, and certainly there was a change of thinking by the leadership. Otherwise, the President would have been there for that briefing, in which case, I'm sure you remember, the service chiefs were invited and they came before the National Assembly because they felt that before they invite the President, they needed to have a broader explanation by the services. And in the event that, the National Assembly felt it very important, or the House of Representatives in particular, which is where I liaise with, invites the President, I'm sure he would honor their invitations because he has respect for that.